Money. It was all about money. The person sitting there had no idea that the room was being listened into. My best year, I did 15 million. At the end of the day, if that money's not in the box, you failed.
Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard had no compunction about discussing religion and money in the same breath. Make money, he told staffers, and make other people produce so as to make money. Today, following in Hubbard's ideals, David Miscavige leads the Church of Scientology. Speaking to dozens of Scientology insiders, a St. Petersburg Times investigation has found the church takes in astonishing sums of money. For 16 years, Hy Levy worked 12-hour days selling counseling services at the Church of Scientology's worldwide headquarters in Clearwater. Levy now speaks in unprecedented detail about the process and pressure to reach his $200,000 weekly quota by 2 p.m. every Thursday. He estimates his small team alone took in $100 million a year for the church.
A registrar, best way to describe it is basically a salesman. It's a sales function, okay? People come into the organization and they need to get service. Service costs money. The registrar works with them to basically, if you cut through all the stuff, he works out how they get it paid for. We would get a technical evaluation of what the person needed. The technical area would tell us he needs so many intensives. An intensive is 12 and a half hours of auditing, right? And that's how it was sold. He needs so many intensives. There was a sliding scale discount. The more you bought in one group, the higher the discount and the less it cost you. I tried never to sell one intensive because that was the highest price. The latest price when I left in 2009, one intensive, now this is of upper level auditing, was $7,800. You got the part of the registration cycle where the person's got his estimate, he gets enlightened on the service, he gets to understand why he needs it, what it's going to do for him. Now, how do we pay for it? And you might say, well, I don't have any money. Most people said that, and in the end, they paid you. A lot of repeat business, right? Maybe I've registered this guy for 10 years. I know him. I know his wife, I know his family, I know his kids. I know where he lives, I know how many cars he has. I know all about him. I know the 401ks that he always pulls the money out of. I know the college fund. I know everything that I've needed to know to get him to pay me money over 10 years. So, you've got a guy in front of you, and he says, I don't have any money. And you say, well, how do you know? Oh, because I know all my cards are maxed out. Well, let's check them. Now, one of two things. He doesn't want to check them because he knows he has credit available on them, but he doesn't want to use it. Or he forgot and didn't know. Or what I often found is he got an increase he didn't even know about because they gave it to him automatically. He never looks at his statement. I said, well, let's just check them out right now. I'll tell you what, you go have a cup of coffee, give me your cards, and maybe he had 6 or 8 cards and he didn't want to spend an hour calling them. I could do it in 10 minutes, right? So give me your cards and I'll need this information. Okay, good. Now, go have a cup of coffee, relax, I'll find out all the information and we'll get back together. So I make all the calls, I want to say, okay, you have $35,000 of available credit. They go, I do? Realize the money is just a means to achieving something the person wants. And it's a fair statement that nobody pays for something that isn't going to give them some benefit. Everything you buy, you expect it to give you a benefit. If you don't expect the benefit is worth the money, you won't buy it. Well, the benefits that we're giving in Scientology are priceless. Some of these things that people get handled, want to get handled, and do get handled, you couldn't put a price tag on it. It means to them a form of freedom. So where's the limit on what that's worth? So money is a very passionate subject. When you talk about money, you can run into all sorts of emotions about it, right? If the guy really feels he's going to get this thing handled, and you really just get him to look at how much it's going to mean to him in his life and how different his life will be, he stops worrying about the money.
Listening through hidden microphones, Levy's immediate supervisor, Kathy West, would sometimes call during private sessions.
She might say, listen, they have the money. Don't buy what they're telling you about how they don't have it. Ask her about, and she'd mention whatever account she knew they normally paid out of. That's how you'll get the money, right? Okay, thanks. So I melts that into the conversation to where they said, well, yeah, I do have that account, but I'd rather not use it. Okay, so now you handle their objection to that and you close them. Okay. Sometimes she would send the receptionist in with a note saying, you know, whatever she wanted to say. Sometimes she would call and yell and scream at me on the phone in the middle of the interview. You have to understand, the person sitting there had no idea that the room was being listened into. They had no clue. These people are sometimes telling me their deepest, darkest fears, emotions, upsets, secrets, because they trust me, because I've worked with them for years, and they know me, and I'm going to help them, and they know that. So they're willing to tell me all these things. They don't know somebody else is listening. My senior, the director of reservation, worked in another building, the Fort Harrison, the Oak Cove. So she ran me by telephone. She would call me very often. In a day, maybe I'd get anywhere between 20 and 100 phone calls. And every time I reported income, fine. If I didn't report income for a while, and if my statistics were not in the range they needed to be, the escalation of the tone level of those conversations changed. From, come on, you got to get going here, you know, to screaming, yelling, obscenities. The word in Scientology called interbulated. It means that the calmness with which you normally would comport yourself is gone, and it's just a mass of chaotic, random stuff flying around. Okay? Well, it was very much like that. And it would drag me to tears. It would push me to tears. I thought a pretty decent, strong person, but it demolished me.
Is the person on the other end of the phone talking in terms of getting people, individuals, service, or are they talking in terms of dollar amounts?
Money. It was all about money. That was all about money. You know, there was a lot of training that we had about how it wasn't all about money, and it was all valid training, and we did use it, and a lot of that was utilized. But I don't know how to put it. It's like, you know, if you're fighting a war and you're talking about, you know, taking prisoners, when the guy's sitting in front of you, you're going to shoot him and kill him dead. That's what you're supposed to do. Well, it's kind of like that. It's about helping people and getting them up the bridge and getting them serviced and getting them to improve their lives. But in the end, at the end of the day, if that money's not in the box, you failed. That's all you were measured on. My statistic was not number of people that I helped. My statistic that I was measured on was number of dollars gotten in. Very simple. Gross income.
Constantly working, Levy took in $200 million during his time as a reg.
I almost never took any time off. I think in the time I was married, which was 12 years, I took off 2 or 3 days with my wife. I remember one year where I was number 2. I was the new kid on the block, and I was number 2, and I was proud of it. Sonia was always number 1. And I can't tell you the total amount she made. I would say it had to be somewhere between 25 and 30 million. My best year, I did 15 million. Most of the staff make $50 a week. 95% of the staff, $50 a week. And that's what we were making in the end. You know, so I'm making $50 and I'm regging $200,000-300,000. You knew when you joined you were getting paid $50 a week. You knew that. It wasn't like you were expecting anything different. And you knew you had a purpose, which was to help these people and to salvage what was happening in this society. That's what you cared about.
Once proud of the work he had done, Levy said his last few years at Flag were chaotic, especially after the release of the basics in 2007.
There was an atmosphere that was nuts, insane, and before that, I was proud to associate myself with one of the top Scientology Sea Org organizations in the world. The top, basically. By the end, I didn't want anybody to know I had anything to do with it. Because of these huge quotas that were unforced beyond belief, the staff became frantic that they had to sell it. They had to. Now, everybody's doing it, so how do you manage to stay above it and be the one who makes the sale? Well, aside from all the gimmicky things about how you sell it to them in the first place, there was the person would arrive to the flag land base, flag service organization, and they were pounced on. Pounced from the minute their foot hit the tile of the lobby. When I left, the day that I got the official okay to go after 19 months of waiting for somebody to say it had enough sec checking, that we were done, we've looked at everything, signing all these documents about how I wouldn't say anything bad about anybody. And believe me, that scared me for a long time. I got outside, it was like what everybody takes for granted. To me, it was like, oh my God, I was free.
Reporting with Joe Childs and Tom Tobin, this is Maurice Rivenbark for the St. Petersburg Times.